Hey guys, what's up? Last time we saw how we can delete a contact. So we can come here and delete a contact like this one. So when we are deleting, we disable it. And so you see it's disabled here when we are deleting. And when it's deleted, we remove it from the UI. So you saw it was removed from the favorite and also the all contact list. So if I can redo it, let's delete corner. So I'm going to delete there. So you see it's removed here. So let's also, if you can delete this one, is removed, and then our check that removes the button when we don't have more than 2 starred contacts is met. Okay, so that's well and good. So let's go ahead and see how we can star a contact, just so we can add more starred contacts in this list. So the way we can do that, let's set up a star icon somewhere, but I want to first add a country code to these numbers, okay, just so we can have a full number itself. So where we have the phone number, we are going to have the country code first. So in the same span, we will be showing the country underscore code and then the phone number. So now if you come back, it's going to reload. See, we show the country code and then the phone number. So let's go ahead and add, if the contact is starred, we can add a star in front of the name. So here we go to where we have the name. So you see we have the name here. So I'm gonna have an icon. So if the contact is starred, I'm going to be showing this icon here. So we can check for if contact.isFavorite. So contact.is_favorite. Then we'll show an icon and it's going to have a, let's say we give it a name of heart, because yeah, those are the contacts that are on our heart. So if it reloads, you see that Sanchez has a heart, you see that Greg has a heart. So let's make those hearts red. We can pass a color here, so we can pass color equals red, because yeah, they can also have something to do with our blood. So that makes sense. So let's go ahead and add more contacts. So I'm going to set up another button here. So it's going to be either adding or removing depending on the current state of that favorite of that contact, the current favorite state of that contact. So after the buttons, so after these buttons here, where they, this one, I'm gonna have another one. So I'm gonna have another one here. I'm actually not going to use an icon. I'm going to use text. So let me remove this. So if the contact is in this is favorited, we are going to be unfavoriting it. If it's not, you're going to be favoriting it. So we can do that by first checking if it's favorited. So we can do this check. So we can have here, we can have if it's favorited, then we will be saying and star. Actually, I'm going to have this. So we'll be saying and star. Then else we're going to be saying star. Okay, so now if you come back to the application, of course it should be star, not start. If you come back to the application, it's gonna load, and you see this one is saying and star because it is starred here. And of course the CSS is not looking great, but you can of course improve it. So let's now handle this. So when you click here, we want to add this red on this one. So for now it's actually deleting. So what you can do is, instead of deleting item, we are going to be calling one called star and star, because we're going to be doing different things depending on the current status. So let's create this. We are going to be passing it like we did for the contact. We may also add contact on it, so it makes more meaning. So that's going to be star and star contact. Then we give the contact ID. So when we come back to the container, which is here, so we can set up that function. It's going to be star and star. It's going to be taking in the ID. So once we get the ID, we are going to be calling a function. So let me change this to handle star and star. Then the function, we're going to create another action. So in context, actions, contacts, we'll create star and star star and star.js. Okay, so it's gonna be a simple function that's gonna be making a patch request to export default function. It's gonna take in an ID and a dispatch. So with the dispatch, first we are going to dispatch starring contact. So we can do dispatch. The type is gonna be starring. Let's say starring let's call it add star loading. So it's gonna be doing two things. So you can have add remove star loading. So yeah, so let's also send a payload because we are going to need to at least update the UI so we can disable it when we are removing or adding it to the stars. So we can send the payload. And by the way, you can call this anything, but payload is kind of like a convention. So let's create this action type. So you can come here and export it, export const that's gonna be equal to this. So let's duplicate it and have the error and success. Let's also have the success. Make sure it's the same here. Alright, so the endpoint we're gonna be calling is this one, the one for patch. So since we're gonna be updating only one thing, it's convenient that we send a patch. Okay, so in the action, if you go to our action, star and star, what we'll do, let's make sure we're importing this correctly. So what we'll do here, we will also actually be passing in the next, we'll also be passing in the favorite state of the contact. So we can also pass the favorite state. So is favorite. So if it's favorite, it's going to be removing it. If it is, then it's going to be adding it here. So we can actually do that in the, if we go back to our layout, which I think is list. So we will send the contact ID and also send the current status of the contact. So that will be contact.isFavorite. So we make sure we are passing this. So when we come to the container, we want to make sure we are getting it. So when we call, yeah, so now in here we can call star and star. Let me make sure this is renamed properly. So this is gonna be handle star and star contact. Handle star and star. Then let's pass it here. Equals star and star. Let's check the one we are destructuring. So in the list, we can check we are getting this one. So let's make sure it has a comma there. So coming back in the container, we can send it. So star and star will be equal to this function we have created. So the value of isFavorite will be the opposite of the current isFavorite value of this contact. So here we can call star and star, and then we give it the ID and then isFavorite. So the ID we have it, but then for isFavorite, we are going to be passing in a, so if the current state is favorited, we are going to be removing it. So here you can say isFavorite, but we want the opposite, so we can check not isFavorite. So if it was false, it's going to send a true, meaning that star and star will send true to the API, and the API will update this one to true. If it is, it's going to send false, and like that. So coming back to our actions, if you go to star and star, I actually named it poorly. So anyways, so here what you can do is call the action. Then we want to call patch. So like I mentioned, when we come to the endpoint, see we have a put and a patch. So a patch is more convenient when you're updating single bits of the object. So we are going to be using a patch like that. So in here, we will be sending a request to contacts/id. So it's going to be /contacts/the ID. So we can get the ID like this. Then we want to call then. So then we will return us a response. Let's also catch the errors. So let's catch the errors. So catch error. So when you get the response, we want to send it to the reducer. So here we can dispatch. So we'll be dispatching, the type will be star success. So we can also send the payload. So the payload will be what we get from the server. So the server will be sending us the new object. So we can send that one to the reducer. Let's make sure we are sending the errors to the reducer too if something goes wrong. So like I said, here you can be add remove error. Okay. Then here we can check if we have the error from the server. So we can check that from error.response. If that's the case, we send error.response.data. So otherwise, we want to send a generic error. So something like network. It's something I could not connect. There is this, connection error. Yeah, it's called it connection error. So yeah, so that's gonna do it for now. What you can do is, we need to send this one here. So we need to send the data. So we can send its favorite actually. And since the value of this will also be its favorite, we don't need to pass something like this, no. So with JS, we can destructure it and send it like this. So if you go back to the application and reload it, let me open up the DevTools so we can know what we are working with. So on the network, we can click star and we are not sending it. So let's take a look. We actually need a comma here. So if we come to the list, we can put a comma, and in our container, we make sure we are passing the dispatch. So let's also pass it. So it's going to be contacts dispatch. Okay, so let's take a look again. So it's going to reload, it's fetching the contact, it has brought them. So now, when I click on star, we make an API call to 3, and if we inspect what we are sending its favorite to true. So if we take a look at the response, you can see that we get its favorite true. So it's favorited. Okay, so now we need a way to update the UI when it's favorited. So I can click on and star. Let's say I click on Idris. So if I click on Idris, we are making it at 7, and we are sending true. And when that happens, we get true added. So when I send the one, so now you see these ones we are sending true. So when I click the one that's already started, like Sanchez, so I can click Sanchez, it's 10. So you see, for Sanchez, we are sending false. So we are sending the reverse of what we currently have as a state on that contact. So now we need to update the UI in the reducer after we have updated on the server. And we don't need to reload, of course, that's the whole thing. So we can go to our reducers, then contacts. So you can have the star and star success. So let's have that case. So case star and star. Let's say star. So case, I'm gonna put success, and then I will choose. So add remove star. Okay. So if it's successful, we want to return our current state. So we can spread everything there. And then, like I said, we have to change bits of that state, not everything. So we're gonna be modifying the contacts. So when it comes to the contexts, so when it comes to the contexts, we want to get everything we already have. So state.contexts, contacts. Okay. So we'll be changing the data itself. So we are going to be manipulating the current. So we're going to be manipulating the current item. So the item we click on, we are going to be changing its favorite state from true to false, or from false to true, depending on what the user was doing. So here we can have data. So in data, we are going to be mapping through the existing data. So state.contacts.map. So this brings us an item. So inside here, we can check if the item is the one that we sent from the action. So we can check if item.id equals to payload. So if that's the case, we can, the payload, we want to check the payload.id, because here we are sending the whole object from the server. So we can return the new object, because the payload here will be a new object, so we can easily return it. Otherwise, we're going to return the items. Otherwise, we're going to return the other items. So you can do return. We're going to leave the other items unchanged. Okay, so now I believe we can test it out. So let's go ahead and test it out. So it's gonna reload. If I click on star on searches, it's gonna try to do this here, and we get an error. So it should be contacts.data here. All right. So let's see. It's gonna reload again. Searches has been added again. So if I click on name1, name4, can click there, and you see that it goes ahead and adds name1, name4 to this list, and then also changes the text. So this is very much real time. So if we try it with John Smith again, I can click John Smith. Let's see how this will go away. So it goes away after it's successful, and then this changes. So yeah, so this is how you use the Context API to actually globally manage the state of your application without needing something like Redux. If you want to disable the button when we are starting like this, so you disable it so user doesn't click again. You can use the same knowledge we used when we were deleting last time. So when we click here, you will disable it, and then it goes away. So that's gonna do it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.